Hi, welcome to this channel on magnetic energy technology principles applications. This video is about combining polarized ions. This is highly unconventional information, of course. This particular topic is something that is used currently around top secret labs around the world. So I'm just going to share some notes with you from different experiments and different things in this, so that you get an idea of like what's going on in this research and kind of what the future holds of this. And so, first of all, the subatomic vortices are responsible for the attract and repel forces in, could be magnets, it could be electrical, it could be whatever. Especially we're talking now molecular structure, atomic forces or atomic forces. I'm using conventional terminology even though it doesn't really apply, but we got to use it. So when the etheric or magnetic energy flows from one vortex to another, there is an attraction, and then it appears as though the charges are opposite, even though they're not. It's about one vortice leading into another vortice, and so they say opposites attract. It's not really true. It's incoming and outcoming vortices are attract. Now, when the energy vortice flow directions do not form a connection, so they're like running into each other, like say outgoing, then there's a repel phenomenon, and it appears as though the charges and the polarities are the same. And so and you could say, well, it's just a matter of semantics, but when we get into higher technology and the subatomic things and the vortices, and we're trying to increase that flow and enhance that flow, it's not about semantics. This becomes really important that it's not opposites don't repel or attract, and it's not really about opposites at all, opposite charges. It's about the direction of the vortices, and that becomes incredibly important when you're doing this. So like polyatomic ions in a molten state, and this is hugely important for metallurgy processes, especially when it comes to forming new alloys and forming spaceship alloys and super strong alloys and everything. So polyatomic ions in a molten state that can be combined in a pulsing magnetic field, and they attract neutral etheric magnetic energy in that state. They undergo transmutation, they produce alchemical reactions, including like the formation of gold from base elements, and that is totally a proven technology. So what's weird about this though is you've got to think about alchemy and the combinations of different elements that are used, and how they have available ions, or they have available, whether they're anions or cations, it doesn't matter. It's the formulas, and when you get them in a molten state and then you combine with pulsing magnetic fields, it makes them able to attract additional energies that are normally not present when they're just static. So in a pulsing magnetic field, any element can be converted to anions and cations temporarily to achieve ionic balancing. And that's hugely important because we want to achieve ionic balancing, because that's where we get the draw of the neutral etheric magnetic energy, the ion balancing. So it's in this state that the impossible neutral ions, and that's the elusive neutral ion, like, well, there's no such thing because ion by its definition is polarized. But if you consider the idea that an ion is some sort of molecular structure with a high charge, what we can do is we make the neutral charge, we make it substantially stronger. And so you could say this is an elusive neutral ionic charge. They're essentially supercharged elements with strong etheric magnetic fields that convert neutrons into polarized energy, So this is the whole idea of a supercharged neutral ion is what they'll call it. And that's what the terminology like they use in labs of what they're working on this, because it just fits into conventional terminology the best, at least right now. So the proper layering of positive and negative ionic materials in a geometric balancing lattice, that's huge because you've got to have the geometry to support the ionic balancing. So this is really important. These types of layering materials, this is kind of like the solid state etheric magnetic energy that will run our societies in the near future. They can produce an ongoing etheric magnetic draw, and they have polarization conversions. So they start drawing in the neutral etheric magnetic energy because they're layered, and so they're balancing each other out. And then their output is some sort of polarized energy. We would call it a polarized energy, but it's something that has typically like a heavy amount of anions or cations in it to produce like something that's for usable results or usable to society with an unlimited number of uses. And so this is really critical, the idea of like layering those and producing the balance of the positive and negative charges so that we capture neutral and additional neutral charge and then let the conversion basically run the devices and run society. A new category of elements is about to be released. It'll be released in stages, but you could say discovered or released. It'll the news will be it's being discovered, but it's actually more like it's being released. And so that it will demonstrate the true power and versatility of neutral and ionic energy. We will see the end of the electron era and welcome in the neutral energy era as well as the ion era. So this is a conversion in society to a new source of power, a new source of energy that runs everything in our daily lives, but then much, much more because it moves us straight into anti-gravitic technology, which is going to be everywhere around our planet, running all kinds of stuff. So we will utilize an infinite number of manifestations of the flow of ions through the conductive use of neutrons as we directly source the etheric magnetic field for all of our needs in society. So this is kind of what's coming, and so using this neutral and this ionic energy in these terms will become more popular, and it will be released. This information will be released to society as the technology is released, and it will change everything we do because it's talking about, again, the formulation, deformulation, reformulation of matter and all these things and the anti-gravitic stuff, and then so much more spontaneous healing and blah, 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 blah. I've done all these videos. So please send in any comments and questions that you have on this. And I know there's a specific group of people that were looking for this information to discuss. And so I will talk to you again. Thanks.